Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ron Seaver calling in from the National Sports Forum, and welcome you to this month's edition of our NSF webinar. This one is very much with an eye on the calendar coming up here because we have an event that's happening in 3 weeks. And so we're calling this one Get in the New York State of Mind, a preview of the trends and topics from the upcoming NSF Spring Summit. So I will be your moderator. This is unique for me this time because I actually also get to be a guest. I don't think I've ever done that before, but I'll take the final slot here and as I'll be presenting one of the breakouts. But we wanted to give everybody an opportunity to just get a little flavor and feel for what's going to be coming up in New York City in 3 weeks, as we hope you'll be coming back. And as I mentioned, this is called the Spring Summit. This is the second year that we've done this. We're very excited about this. It's a New York City event. It's just one day only, and that will be Thursday, May 3rd. And as you can see on your screen here, coming up here, it's going to be at the Crowne Plaza, Times Square, in downtown New York City. And so we're very, very much looking forward to it. We thought this is for those of you who are part of our bigger NSF event, you know that we're heading into our 24th year with the NSF, but that moves around the country every year, and we just wanted to come up with an event each year that we could do that would kind of bring all of our friends and alums together in what we call the tri-state area of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York City, New York State. We love to bring everyone together and just kind of focus on a lot of the issues, the trends, the things that are going on, particularly those that might impact the teams, the sports properties, the agencies, the sponsors in that particular market. So we did this for the first time last summer, and everyone reminded us that summer in New York City is not the time you want to be there with a conference. So this year we decided let's bring it back earlier. We'll do it in early spring, which, as you can see, will be Thursday. Again, it will be May the 3rd, and we'll tell you at the end how you can get more information and sign up for it. But as you can see, we kind of are packaging it as almost like a forum for a day, which will give you an opportunity to network with your fellow sports industry execs. You'll get a chance to hear from some of the top speakers, some of the top executives from both the league side, the corporate sponsor side, and, of course, from the team and sports property side, from the area, from that region and beyond. And then, again, a lot of super panels and breakout sessions. So we're very much looking forward to it. We've got a great group of speakers coming out your way, as you can see some of them, one of whom you're about to hear from, and that's Jason Ganell. But you can see we've got a great group that we're really looking forward to hearing from, very spread across. You have some league as well as some team. I see Tom Glick up there. Now, Tom, for those of you who may know Tom, oversees, he's the Chief Commercial and Operating Officer for City Football Group, which includes NYCFC, Manchester City, and 4 other soccer teams around the globe, so lending more of an international perspective. Our good friend Nick Kelly, coming out from Anheuser-Busch. Obviously, they're making a lot of news of late, particularly with their sponsorship model that they're introducing. You're going to get a chance to hear from, in fact, our first speaker coming up here is Doug Smoyer, and he will be moderating one of our super panels. So let me take a second here and introduce you for those of you that don't know Doug. Certainly, he is a well-recognized expert throughout the world of sports marketing. I've been very fortunate to have gotten to meet him through putting the super panels together and putting all the members together here. And he brings a perspective. What I love is he brings it from both the team side of things as well as the league perspective. He's held executive positions like with the New York Giants, where he was with the Giants for several years in the NFL, putting together programs that led to such things as Hyundai and Ford signing on as league partners in what was then very much a unique structure that allowed them to share the automotive category, which was very much a first then for the NFL. And Doug has certainly always been a pioneer. He went from the Giants on into the NFL league office, where he basically played a major role in the league office. All told, put together over more than $500 million in sponsorship revenue to his credit. So in between, I know he's doing a lot of consulting now. The Montreal Canadiens, who I know are on the line here joining us, welcome. They're one of his clients, and certainly we're delighted to have him joining us and moderating the panel. He's currently in the 6th year as an adjunct professor at NYU, the School of Professional Studies, where he co-teaches a grad-level course entitled Revenue Sharing and Pricing, and this gentleman would definitely know that topic. So we thought we would kick things off here this afternoon with the webinar and kind of introduce you to Doug and have him take you inside what his background, his perspective, and the panelists that he'll be interviewing at the upcoming summit. So with that said, we want to welcome you, Doug.
Ron, thanks very much for that introduction. I appreciate it, and very happy to be joining you and everyone that's following along today on this webinar, and very much looking forward to participating in the National Sports Forum Spring Summit here in New York City on May 3rd. So thanks again for having me today. And Ashley, let's get things started. Let's move on to the next slide. I show you this image of Times Square, not because the Spring Summit is here in New York in a couple of weeks, but I'm a very visual person. I think this image demonstrates how crowded and how congested the sports and entertainment landscape has become in recent years. And just like Times Square, if you've ever had the chance to walk through, countless sports properties, tech companies, media entities, consumer brands, B2B brands, athletes, personalities, announcers, everyone's competing for consumers' attention. And it's 24 hours a day, it's 7 days a week. There is no off season anymore. And when I see this crowded marketplace, I see one thing. I see opportunity. And I firmly believe that the properties that work best to differentiate their brand, their products, their offerings, are still going to be very, very successful regardless of what their team does or doesn't do on the field, on the court, on the pitch, or on the ice. And that's the topic of our discussion on May 3rd. It's the focal point of our discussion here this afternoon. Ashley, let's move ahead. Now, before we continue, I want you to understand my view of the industry. You know, they say perspective in the eye of the beholder. So understanding where I've been in my career, and Ron walked you through that, gives you an idea of how I see the industry and how I come to these conclusions. I worked in premium tickets and suites and season tickets with the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Redskins early in my career. Went to the New York Giants and was VP of Sponsorship and Business Development. Went to the NFL League office. Led the sponsorship sales team there for 3 years. I've been involved as an adjunct professor at NYU for 6 years now, and as Ron also said, I have a growing consulting practice. Ashley, let's move on to the next one. Our panelists on May 3rd, we've got an outstanding group, some of the top properties in all of sports. Elizabeth Brooks, who's CMO at Brooklyn Sports and Entertainment, has a fascinating background, worked at Live Nation, and she also worked at Napster, and I can't wait to get her perspective. Rob Sullivan, who knows all things tickets and premium. He's worked at MSG, obviously, who's also at the New York Jets and the San Francisco Giants. Katie O'Reilly, who oversees marketing for the 76ers, also has worked at IMG College, and she spent a good number of years at NBA Teambo. And David Newman, who's been at the Mets for 13 years in charge of marketing communications. And as any Mets fan will tell you, the relationship that Mets fans have with the club is among the most intense in all of sports, and David knows that inside and out. Let's go to the next slide. Now, each of these clubs operates what I consider to be very mature business. They've been in business for decades. They've got well-established business, mostly here in New York, but also the Sixers clearly down in Philadelphia. And they've got very deep and loyal followings with their fan bases, both in their home market and around the country. But there's something unique about these companies and the way they go to the marketplace. Actually, let's continue. They each take what I refer to as a portfolio approach. And when you think of Madison Square Garden, clearly they are the original sports portfolio company. They've got the Knicks and the Rangers and the Liberty, but they've also got minor league clubs, esports, the MSG family of TV networks, and then they're very deep in entertainment with the Rockettes, the Tao Restaurant Group, and their ever-growing theater business with the Beacon Theater and Radio City here in New York, Chicago Theater, and that business continues to grow. Brooklyn Sports and Entertainment is more focused around the Barclays Center, the Nets, the Islanders, and then some of the top entertainment destinations in Brooklyn and out on Long Island. Sterling Equities, owner of the New York Mets, takes a very unique approach. Their business centers around the Mets, Citi Field. They have a majority share in the SNY Sportsnet New York TV network here in New York. They have a hospitality business, minor league clubs. They've got an Overwatch team in Excelsior. And then they also have multiple residential and commercial real estate businesses. Harris Blitzer is essentially the new kid on the block, but they've moved very, very quickly to assemble a stable of world-class assets. It's mostly based around the Sixers, the Devils, Prudential Center, and you'll hear more about that from Jason Ganell in a few moments. But it's also the minor league clubs relative to the Sixers and the Devils. They've got an English Premier League club in Crystal Palace. Plus, they have some unique offshoots of their business that we'll talk about a little later on. Ashley, let's move ahead. Well, let's think about the home markets where these companies conduct business. And as someone who spent 7 years as an executive with the New York Giants, I can tell you firsthand that the New York market is broader, deeper, and more competitive than I can ever convey to you within the confines of this discussion. And look, Philly is the number 4 market in the country. So again, very crowded market, a lot of competition for the entertainment dollar. Here in New York, the big events are really impactful, and unquestionably they draw from the whole market. But a lot of other events, even something as big as an NBA contest, a baseball game, a hockey game, sometimes tend to draw from a local market within the broader New York market. So, for instance, if you are a Nets fan living in New Jersey and you're thinking about going to a Nets game in Brooklyn, realistically speaking, if it's a weeknight with a lot of traffic, you might need to leave your home or office at 4 p.m. in order to comfortably reach Brooklyn by car, park your car, and beat a seat by tip-off. And that's just one of the realities of conducting business in this market. And when you think beyond the 11 pro sports teams here in New York, we attract major international events like the U.S. Open Golf Tournament on Long Island this summer, the annual U.S. Open Tennis Tournament that takes place in Queens every August. Look, go back. New York City Marathon is a global event. Global events like Fashion Week, all the tourist options here. Plus, any market that holds an NCAA basketball tournament, to host even one of those is a big deal. Well, New York had 3 of them this year in the span of about 12 days. The Big East, the ACC, and the Big Ten. And oh, by the way, we also have the Theater District in Broadway, which takes a big chunk of the entertainment dollars out of the marketplace. In Philly, again, the national champion Villanova Wildcats, the Army-Navy game, everything with respect to early America from a tourist perspective, the 10 relays, plus 5 pro sports teams. It's a very crowded and congested market. Let's go to the next one, Ashley. But personally speaking, we talk about this a lot in my NYU class. I don't view this so much anymore as though sports properties are competing for the entertainment dollar. I think we're all competing for a consumer's leisure time. So think of all the different ways that a sports property can communicate and interact with a consumer. It might be video content, highlights, social posts, fantasy sports, charitable causes, shopping for licensed apparel, attending games, listening to a game on the radio, you name it. But we're competing for those consumers' attention against countless other properties and opportunities. So think of it this way. I have a good friend that works for 21st Century Fox, and he gave me this example a couple of years ago, and I've never gotten away from it. He says, 28 years now, Fox TV network has programmed 8 p.m. Sunday night as The Simpsons. It used to be that the executives at Fox would take a look at what else was on broadcast TV, on cable TV, Sunday night at 8, and that was their competition. No more. They now know that they're up against every piece of content ever created, viewable on any device. And I take that same thinking and I apply it to the sports industry. We're competing for the leisure time of our fans and our consumers. And if we're going to be successful, we need to be very, very creative on how we engage with those fans. Let's move forward, Ashley. I believe that fan engagement resides at the heart of any business of a sports property. So think about it. If you've ever worked at a team, if you work at a team right now, all the different revenue streams that are impacted by having positive fan engagement. Ticket sales, everything from seasons to groups to premiums, all your game day revenue streams like concessions, parking, merchandise, your sponsorship business, your ad sales business are going to be far more successful when your fan base is highly engaged. And everybody marvels when a team goes on a successful playoff run, or a team like University of Maryland, Baltimore County comes out of nowhere and upsets a number 1 seed. We like to see how much their social media accounts have spiked as a result of that success. Well, that's impacted by having an engaged fan base. And naturally, local TV ratings, national TV ratings, which can also have their own trickle-down impact across your business. All of these areas are impacted by having a very engaged fan base. Let's go to the next one, Ashley. And again, if you work for a club or if you have, you know that this is the way it works. Ownership is always asking, how do we increase attendance? Are we embracing new technologies in all the different areas where it makes sense? And how do we grow our sponsorship revenue specifically at this point? How do we go beyond all the traditional categories and really grow our business? Let's go to the next one. But let's look at these sequentially. Let's talk first about the threat of empty seats, as I call it. There's nothing worse to a team executive or to an owner than a half-empty stadium. And think about it from a fan's perspective. When you're going to a sold-out event, those tickets you hold in your hand, they're currency. And there's a buzz as you walk up to that stadium. And when you sit down in your seat, the excitement is palpable. But contrast that to what it feels like when you're going to a half-empty stadium. It's different. The experience feels different. And when I look across the marketplace right now and I review the industry, I think that I'm seeing the beginning of what might be a disturbing trend, one where fans prefer to stay home on the sofa with a 60-inch high-def television, free from paying high prices for tickets and high prices for concessions, or they prefer to consume sports content on a mobile device in a mobile environment. But either way, this is something that we need to be out front of as an industry to make sure we're doing all we can to preserve the thrill and that revenue stream that ticketing has always been. Ashley, let's go to the next slide. I think the story of NCAA football attendance over the last 10 years should be an eye-opener. So the NCAA hit a high water mark in 2008 with almost 47,000 fans per game. Let's face it, NCAA football is an outstanding product. It's high-level football, lively stadium environments in every corner of the country, but we're down 10% in the last 10 years. And even more disturbing, in the last 4 years, attendance has fallen each successive year, and it's the first time that's ever happened since the NCAA began keeping track of attendance statistics back in 1948. And when you think of college football, naturally you think of the SEC. Even the SEC is feeling this. In fact, they're down 3.14%, which is the most of any conference from 16 into 17. So my worry is that this isn't just a trend that will right itself in the years ahead, that it's actually evocative of a much larger problem or changing consumer taste that we in this industry will need to be proactive about if we are to curb this trend and get attendance back on the right track. Ashley, let's go to the next slide. Thankfully, the business of ticketing has advanced many, many ways over the last 15 to 20 years. No longer do you have young sales reps making cold calls out of a phone book, but instead you have very smart people that work in ticketing at top sports properties relying upon data and analytics to identify how to price tickets, to identify which ticketing products to put into the marketplace, and to innovate with new seating options in stadiums that appeal to today's consumer. So here are a few examples. The Minnesota Vikings did a phenomenal job as they planned an open U.S. Bank Stadium. What you're looking at is something they call Club Purple, which is essentially lounge-style seating that you might see at a high-end bar or in the lobby of a luxury hotel, but it's actually out in the seating bowl facing the field, and it's an extraordinary example of listening to your customer base and innovating with a new premium ticketing product. But on top of that, entertaining the fan is always first and foremost. And I love the example of Tampa Bay Lightning. They have one of the best owners in sports, a gentleman named Jeff Bennick, and he said, look, we're the Lightning. We need to have actual lightning, bolts of lightning in our arena every time the team takes the ice for pregame warm-up and every time we score a goal. And Todd Lywicki, who was the president down there at the time, actually went out and invested in something called a Tesla coil. And lo and behold, if you want to go to YouTube and look at it, they've got bolts of lightning in their arena, and it provides a one-of-a-kind entertainment option on game nights in Tampa Bay. And last, if you follow Darren Rovell on Twitter, Rovell loves to go from baseball stadium to baseball stadium and post pictures of all the unique food and beverage items. And a lot of these aren't the most healthy eating options, but they are certainly interesting, and most importantly, they are items that you can only get at the ballpark. So again, we're entertaining fans. We're creating new ways for fans to enjoy that ballpark experience. Ashley, let's go to the next slide. In addition, if you can combine technology with entertaining the fan and with new food and beverage products, then you're really doing something right. I think Sporting KC has been a leader in this space for a number of years. They installed a new mobile ordering product a number of years ago. They did it with a third-party vendor, and it gives you, the fan, the opportunity to order your food and beverage, pay for it all within the app, go to a designated fast lane, and pick up your food. And it takes all the pain out of waiting in line for food and beverage at a sporting event. They even went further last year and installed location-based beacons inside their facilities. So you can order food and beverage before you arrive at the stadium. The beacons know when you arrive at the facility. They know when you're getting near your seat, which triggers the order, which provides you with your food and beverage. Another example is Visa, who's been a longtime NFL partner, and they installed their new contactless payment technology in 2 stadiums last year. US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, which is because it was hosting Super Bowl 52, and also at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California, because that's their home market. But another good example of technology leading the way on game day. Ashley, let's go to the next slide. I also like to think of sports teams as tech innovators, and I've got 2 good examples for you. FC Barcelona, a little over a year ago, announced a project called the Barca Innovation Hub, and it's working with their existing partners and other thought leaders in the marketplace to solve business problems around medical services and nutrition, around sports performance, team sports, technology, social science, and they've done this for years, as has many other top sports properties, but typically that learning stays proprietary. It stays in-house to give your club a business advantage or a competitive advantage. Well, no longer. They're actually going to package those learnings and take them out into the marketplace to further elevate the industry. I think it's fascinating. Another example, I mentioned this earlier, is the 76ers with their innovation lab. They're working with 4 early-stage companies based in the Philadelphia area. Each of these companies is somehow tangentially related to the business of the Sixers, and it's brilliant. It positions the Sixers as leaders in the local business community and, most importantly, technology leaders at the same time. Let's go to the next one, Ashley. And as we talk about innovation from all these different angles, I can't help but talk about how sometimes the sponsorship business tends to lag behind, and I feel that oftentimes clubs sit back and they go to the old sponsorship playbook of signing a stadium, adding a game program, and a couple of season tickets. And in my opinion, that method is outdated as the prehistoric cell phone that you see on this slide. And I want to share with you 2 examples of what I feel are best-in-class partnerships in the marketplace right now. Let's go to the next slide. SAP and the NHL got together back in early 2015, and SAP has had an interesting journey over the last 7-8 years as a sports sponsor. Initially, their goals were about humanizing the brand and helping them connect with the middle tier of companies where they could grow their business, but they've moved beyond that, and a gentleman named Dan Fleetwood, who's VP of Sponsorships at SAP, has led the charge. And I think their relationship with the NHL is fantastic. They worked with the NHL to take more than 100 years of data, digitize it, put it on NHL.com, and arrange it in a way that lets fans interact with it and research the history of the game and compare today's players with players of yesteryear. And from my perspective as a sponsorship professional, I love it because it showcases SAP's technology, drives fan engagement, which provides enormous benefit to the NHL, and at its base level, it promotes the game. So again, SAP is happy with their partnership. The NHL is happy because they've got a sponsor that's out there engaging their fan base. And if it's possible, here's a better example, and this is American Express with Fanatics in the NBA and a program that just launched a couple of months ago called Jersey Assurance. And you think about the investment that sports fans have made over the years in authentic jerseys. And for a lot of fans, that's a very significant investment, especially when you consider the fact that maybe that player is going to change teams. Well, the risk is gone thanks to Amex and Fanatics. If you buy a jersey and that player changes teams within 90 days, Fanatics will exchange that jersey free of charge. What's more, if you pay with your American Express card, you have up to a year of coverage, if you will, thanks to American Express, and again, thanks to Fanatics. So you look at a program like this, sells product, it prominently features American Express and Fanatics, and it encourages the user, the fan, to engage with both. Most notably, it serves the fan. It provides protection should that player change teams, and it engages fans of all sorts with the property in ways that maybe they never have before. And last, I love the way that they've activated this with the open letter to NBA stars writing open letters. It's something you should give a read to. I think you'd enjoy it. And next up is my final slide, and I'll just share this with you in closing. We continue to talk about innovation and technology and how it impacts the business of sport from all angles. And my advice is network, get to know your counterparts at other leagues, other teams, other brands, other agencies, because what you'll find is a lot of people are up against a similar business challenge to the one that you and your counterparts face at your company. And an event like the National Sports Forum gives you the perfect opportunity to do that. You'll make new friends, you'll see the business from a new perspective, and ultimately it will provide you and your coworkers with new thinking to help you tackle your own business challenges. So thanks very much.
Oh, my goodness. Well, Doug, that I could not have said that better myself, but thank you so much for that. Those slides were awesome. That was an incredible presentation, and I hope a lot of folks got out of that. I want to take your class, and I just have to commend you for the great work that you did in putting that together, and really very much looking forward to your session coming up in 3 weeks, I guess, just a little over 3 weeks. So thank you very much. That was Doug Smoyer, and you can understand why he is the expert that he is. He definitely knows the business inside and out, and we're looking forward to seeing him there at the summit coming up. So thank you very much, Doug. And next up, another gentleman that I wanted to introduce you to is Jason Ganell. Jason, we asked Jason to be on this call because he's running another component of the upcoming summit, and that's one of our breakout sessions. And Jason, his background is extensive as well, as was Doug's. He's the VP of Premium Partnerships at the Prudential Center in the New Jersey Devils, and Doug mentioned him earlier talking about all the different extensions that they have there. For those I've known, I've had the good fortune knowing Jason for a number of years now, but all told, he has over 24 years of experience in the business in ticketing, premium seating, suites, and sponsorship sales. Certainly his background expertise touches into concept design, renovation, planning, staff construction, and management, as well as marketing and sales implementation. So A to Z. He certainly has a substantial track record in doing something else, which is very novel in our industry and certainly very much a commodity, a great commodity to have, and that is success in opening new buildings. With so many of them coming online, being under construction, that requires a whole different skill set to be able to do that, and Jason's done that on a number of occasions. Certainly maximizing revenue throughout all the different streams in ticketing and all the different existing buildings across the United States. So currently right now, Jason, as I mentioned, is the premium. He's the Vice President of Premium Partnerships at the Prudential Center, certainly as well as with the New Jersey Devils. And as Doug had mentioned, that's all part of the Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment Network, HBSE. So he's the organizational lead for all premium seating sales there. And the Prudential Center, just to give you some idea, was recently ranked the 6th highest grossing large building in the world and the 4th highest grossing building here in North America, and that was by Billboard and Pollstar. Currently number 5 for the entire year, up from 17th in 2015. So these folks are definitely on the move, and we thought it would be great to ask Jason to come and join us. As you can see, he's going to be running one of our ticket sales tracks. This is creating premium experiences, which plays very well into what Doug was just talking about, how important it is to get away from the half-empty stadiums. It's not as much about the game as it was, say, 20 years ago. Now it's about the experience and delivering the whole experience. So we couldn't think of anybody better to ask to come in and jump in and address that topic than Jason Ganell. So with that said, Jason, the floor is yours, my friend.
Well, thanks, Ron, and again, nice job, Doug. That was really well done. I was going to spend some time and appreciate the opportunity to talk to the group today. Spend some time talking a little bit about a specific example of one of the ways that we're trying to enhance our building with some new premium seating product, and give you a little bit of a thumbnail of our story here at Prudential Center, and part of the reason that we've had some of the success that we've had over the last 2-3 years and have culminated in some good success with the rankings that Ron had just discussed. And it's well thought out how this was structured, and it's great to have Doug talk through some of the crowded marketplace dynamics of what New York is, and really what this area, probably from Boston all the way down to DC, is. It's a pretty crowded marketplace with a lot of provincial interest from a sporting perspective, but also very competitive from an entertainment dollar standpoint. So it's great that we're the 5th busiest building in North America, and but one of the challenges that we have is two other buildings in the top five are very close neighbors of ours, with obviously Madison Square Garden that uses the moniker the world's most famous arena, and then our friends over in Brooklyn are also a very busy building as well. So it's a very competitive marketplace for us, and with that, it keeps us very nimble and focused on creating incredible products, as well as putting on the best content in the world, and the best content that we possibly can to drive ticket sales and really the overall growth of the building. So with that, we can kind of just jump into some of the general dynamics of what it is I'm going to talk about today. So again, to what Ron had mentioned, I oversee the premium business, which is probably our third to sometimes second most important revenue stream for the building. Obviously, we have our sponsorship piece, our ticketing piece, and we tend to take and really leverage the success of our content, both on the sports side and the concert side, really yields the biggest results in the premium space. It allows us to drive a very critical term, whether you're opening a new building or a existing structure, which is contractually obligated income. So where we're trying to grow our business is we're trying to get people to commit for longer term leases, trying to get them locked into 3, 5, 7, 10 or more year term on products like suites, and other hospitality products that I'll jump into. The main core areas of business that we have in our premium side are on the suite, the traditional suite side, which everybody understands, sort of 3 walls and a door and a view out to the field, or to in this case the ice or the basketball court or the stage. And then in addition to that, we have some high-end club seats that we call our Platinum Club, which incorporate an all-inclusive ticket and lounge space and access to everything that comes through the building. It's really a one-of-a-kind ticket that doesn't exist in any of the other buildings, at least not currently here in our marketplace, and that's a big revenue driver for us. And then we had an area of our building called the Gold Bar, which was a stage facing area opposite the restaurant, which was backstage, where we had some club seats that we had sold for a while, and some high top tables that we're reimagining into something we're going to call the Loge. So if you flip to the next slide, one more. Okay, so here's again part of our story. I think, as Ron had mentioned, we were, I think, in 17th position on these Pollstar lists. And what this does is Pollstar culminates or aggregates all of your non-sports content. So any concerts, family shows, non-tenant events is what we call them, that take place in the building. That's how we're ranked. So we're the 5th busiest building. We're busier and drive more revenue than buildings. I would think that, if you were to ask somebody, Newark, New Jersey, you wouldn't think that would be the place where the 5th busiest building was. We're doing more shows and more revenue for concerts than places like TD Bank in Boston, Capital One down in DC, United Center out in Chicago, American Airlines in Dallas, American Airlines down in Miami, and actually we were busier last year than the Staples Center from just a purely, again, non-tenant event standpoint. We can't compete with the 3 teams that play there. We just have our Seton Hall and Devils events here. But from a concert perspective, when you're sort of comparing apples to apples, we're a very busy building. And obviously that helps us from a variety of perspectives in the areas I focus on, but also from our sponsorship end as well. So we can flip to the next one. So again, a key component of this is driving events, 150 events, and you can see some of the variety of events. Our 2 key tenants, again, the hockey team that we own, the Devils, Seton Hall University, which plays in the Big East, and it has had a bit of a resurgence in the last 3-4 years. And having Villanova in their conference hasn't been the worst thing for them. That's a guaranteed sellout, and we've created some own content as well, which is something that we're very ambitious on here at Harris Blitzer, where we're trying to create some of our own events. We have a Never Forget basketball classic, which the proceeds of that go to the families of the victims of the 9/11 tragedies, and that's the event will be in its 3rd year this year. We're getting into things like collegiate wrestling, collegiate hockey, different things like that. We're standalone entities where we control that vertical from top to bottom with some of those events. Marvel Universe up above, family shows is a critical component. We probably do about 25 or 30 of those a year. And then obviously with an artist like Justin Timberlake, that was a show that wasn't as frequently coming in the years past when we were further down on that Polestar list. And we've been able to designate ourselves with the partnerships that we have with Live Nation and AEG Presents and different concert promoters that we've gotten our concert load up from the low 30s in years past to now we're doing about 51, 52 shows a year, which is just tremendous. So we'll flip to the next one. Again, just some more examples of some of the great artists that we have. You can flip again. One more time. So premium membership is again a large component for us, and has an all-encompassing approach like we just talked about. You can flip again. I'm sorry, Ashley. So again, some of the access and some of the things that Doug was talking about in terms of what is going to motivate that buyer, especially on a premium purchase, which is even exponentially more than just a season ticket purchase from a cost perspective. But what's going to get that buyer out of their home or out of their office into the venue, and a lot of it's going to be access, right? So here are some examples again, just with the images here of different access that we can provide at these events. There was a Dine with the Devils event that took place. I think were two of those that came from. And then you have our Grammy Museum, which is a new property that we opened here, which provides tremendous access for our partners to backstage access to concerts and different things like that, which are obviously really cool experiences. You can flip. Next slide. Yeah, there we go. So one of the concepts we are going to create going forward for this year is we took a look at our demographic, and where we've had some great success is in that Platinum Club product, which is a little bit more malleable with a 4-seat purchase type approach as opposed to the full 16 tickets that you would have sort of in a suite environment. And we took a look at a space, and we're going to reimagine and reinvigorate an entire part of the building with a basically $3 million renovation this coming off season, and really reimagine that entire space into 3 distinct products that we think as standalones will really satiate some of the demand that we have in the marketplace, and also create some neat little success stories where we'll have 3 distinct sellout opportunities for ourselves, which, to Doug's point that he was making earlier, you want to create that environment where you've got the perspective or perception that it's a difficult ticket to get, and that having access to that ticket provides tremendous benefit to the holder of the ticket, which in a lot of cases is someone else that's bought the ticket for that person, whether it's a customer entertainment opportunity or an internal customer opportunity where they're trying to thank employees. So you can flip to the next slide. Again, just some great imagery of what we're going to be doing there. And again, the main distinction between these are 3 distinct areas of the club. So a real high-end lounge. It's a tremendous space at the one end of the building. If you've been here before, it's the open glass end of the building on the Edison Place side, which has become a street that gets shut down during our events. And I forget the name of the street down in Nashville that they've sort of popularized down there, but we're trying to create that type of atmosphere here in Newark, which if you've been to Newark, 20 years ago, that's a kind of a unique distinction for us. It's been a tough city for a long time that's really making a tremendous turn for the better, and we're pretty excited that there's all this activity around the building as well that this will be over the top of. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to create a lounge atmosphere that's all-inclusive, which again differentiates this type of seating from your standard general ticket experience. We're taking all the thought and sort of cost dynamics of traditional premium seating product, incorporating that all into one fixed price. So basically, it's a turnkey approach to what it is we're trying to get accomplished. And when we're talking about somebody buying 4 seats in this club, they're going to have access to everything that they could possibly imagine for every event that takes place in the building, which is a pretty cool value product. And something to another thing that Doug said earlier is that you can't really get anywhere else unless you're working with us. which is a tremendous advantage, over, again, approaching the marketplace with a secondary market type opportunity, or not having access or control of the same location for all these events, where, again, whether it's a big time hockey game or a big time concert, these tickets have now started to become in real high demand, which drives a lot of the thinking behind renovating the club and driving this type of revenue. You can flip one more time. In addition to the seating product, we'll create a mini suite product called a loge box in this loft concept. Will incorporate 8 seats, 4 fixed chairs in the stadium bowl, a lounge-like couch, and then 2 bar stools on top of that. We'll sell these in the $160 range for the year, which is again a pretty compelling product offering. But again, when you get up into those 8-seat capacities, you're really talking about segmenting the marketplace. There's only certain types of companies that can justify bringing 8 people to a game, or a certain level of wealth that would have that type of need. So we're building. We have 5 of these currently in a slightly different configuration. We'll get everybody online with the same type of configuration here and build 5 more. So we'll have 10 of those products. We'll have 10 high-top tables that will incorporate 4 seats with a television, waiter-waitress service access back to that club. There'll be 10 of those, so that takes care of another 40 seats. And then we'll have 144 of these club seats that'll sit on the 2 ends, where the 10 loge boxes will be right in the middle. You can go ahead and flip. And that's really the general concept. And all total, this will be something that'll drive approximately almost $2 million per annum more than what we currently drive out of that space. So when you look at it from an investment perspective, it's something that we can likely, if we get to the numbers we want to from the sell-through perspective, likely pay off within probably 2 years and probably a little less time, which makes this a tremendous investment. And we'll be looking for folks to a tremendous return on our investment, and we'll be looking for folks to take these on for 3- and 5-year bases, which again, from a contractually obligated income perspective, puts the organization in a tremendous place from the building perspective. So we're pretty excited about this, and I thought, again, it's a trend. If you're not able to build new, which our building's in the middle of its 11th year right now, we're not looking to build a new building, but we certainly are looking to reimagine the space. We've just invested a tremendous amount of money in what right now is the largest indoor scoreboard in a major arena in the world, which has dramatically enhanced our game presentation and just the general experience. You've got some tremendous LED in the building as well, and this will be sort of year 2.5 of probably a 3.5 year plan. We'll reimagine some other spaces, not just from a premium perspective, but enhance the concourse, again, to keep the building competitive with our brethren here in the market, but also to something Doug said and is well thought out. It gives people a reason to come out of their house or come out of their work environment and spend time in that live environment. I think one thing that we have, which is tremendous, is that there really isn't anything like that live experience, whether you're coming to a Bon Jovi show, it was here this weekend, or a Justin Timberlake show, or a Devils event, or any sort of live event. There's really nothing like that live experience. And how do we enhance that live experience and make it something that people really need to continue to do? Because you can sit at home and watch your DVR or do whatever you do, and that's certainly something that people enjoy. But there's really nothing like the live event, and that's really sort of the cornerstone of our what it is we do every day, and something that really is our the cornerstone of how we monetize our products. So that's really all I've got. I hope I can see everybody that's attending at the forum here in a couple weeks, and looking forward to hosting everyone here in New York. So Thank you again for the time.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, as everyone can definitely see, you get a real good taste of what Jason's going to be diving into, and I think it addresses very much, as Jason just said, what Doug was bringing up, the importance of coming up with that different experience. It's no more, 3 periods of hockey or 9 innings of baseball. You've really got to create that very special feel, that very special atmosphere, that mantra that you have to be there. You really have to be there to get folks up off the couch and get them out to the game, because obviously it doesn't do anybody any good to play in front of half-empty facilities. So you really have to go that extra mile. And with what Jason's doing with premium memberships, I think is just awesome. And I think one of the things you'll also find that's advantageous is that at the summit, you won't just have Jason. He'll be talking about what they're doing in New Jersey and what HBSE is also doing with the 76ers a little bit further south. But, you'll have members there from the Yankees and the Mets, the Brooklyn Nets, as alluded to earlier. Madison Square Garden has a lot of people coming there, just talking about, well, what are you doing? One of the best powers, one of the best values, I think, of getting everyone together is having the power of the group and being able to share ideas, not even just in the session, but at the happy hour at the end of the event that Coyote Promotions is putting on. We're really looking forward to having everybody there just to kind of share and network and meet new people, maybe catch up with folks they haven't seen in quite some time. But like I said, the beauty of it is beyond the summit, being able to feel comfortable picking up the phone and sharing ideas, particularly in a market that is so competitive. You just can't take anything for granted. So that is one of the breakout sessions. I have the definite unenviable task of trying to follow those 2 superstars, but I'm going to take you through another breakout session, and this one is going to be on the sponsorship track. And we're going to be doing an event that reprising a session that we've been doing for the last 24 years. The National Sports Forum started back in 1996. And one of the things that we were known for, and one of our most popular sessions at the forum every year, is a thing that was called the NSF Corporate and Industry Survey. And we're so busy so much. I mean, sponsorship so much drives our revenue, as well as ticket sales, as we were talking about before, in business development. But in addition, we'll have a couple of sessions to offer at the summit on sponsorship, and including the one where we're going to bring out the results from this year's Corporate and Industry Survey. So if you'll advance the slide here, I want to tell you a quick history about the National Sports Forum. This is the 2018. This is something that, as I mentioned before, if we can jump ahead there, we'll do the history. Let's go ahead to the next one. The corporate industry, just tell you a little bit about the history. Back when we first started the forum, as I mentioned, in 1996, we thought it would be very, very instrumental and influential and informative to be able to go out and survey 50 of the top sponsors that were in the industry and ask them, how are we doing? How could we do a better job for you? How could we service you better? How could we, fulfill your expectations? I mean, one thing is for certain, the cost on sponsorships tends to never go down. It only goes up. So, of course, with those increased costs become increased expectations. I mean, they're looking for activations. They're looking to sell beer. And so how good a job are we doing? Who does it well? Not only who does it well, but why do you say they do it well? Well, I think it's important for you to know who. I think the why is so instructive because it tells you what we need to do to be able to get those sponsors happy and writing those checks that we're looking for. So every 2 to 3 years, we would do the corporate industry. We dive back in. What are the changing trends? What's happening out there? What are the things that our sponsors are following? So I want to give a major shout out here. It's quite a daunting task to our research partners, Ohio University, under the guise of my good friend Jim Kaler, who runs the program down there, the executive director for the AECOM Center at Ohio University, and his team, Todd Kesters from the University of South Carolina, Packy Moran from the University of Iowa. We've got a great group of people that are out there asking the questions, talking to the corporate, getting the corporate research that we're looking for. Now, there's actually 2 parts to our survey method. As you can see, it's the corporate and industry survey. So the corporate part, let's jump ahead one slide here, as I mentioned before, is overseen and tackled by these 5 great individuals here who conduct interviews. Well, this year we called it the top 25, but they conduct interviews with 25 of the top sponsors. These interviews are very in-depth. They're done over the phone or in person. They can range anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on what the sponsors want to talk about. And we promise them what we call semi-anonymity. In other words, when a company like Anheuser-Busch or Coca-Cola is participating, we won't tell people, here's what Coke had to say about the NFL, or here's what Anheuser-Busch said about working in the NBA. But we will say, here's some things that we heard, some trends that caught, some quotes that caught our attention that we think we need to pay attention to. So that said, this year, as you can see on your screen now, these were our top 25. We went out and reached all 25. As you can see, they range from Allstate to Verizon Wireless. What was important to us is to not only get a really large number of household names, the major sponsors that are out there, but also a diverse cross-section. So it's not all packaged goods companies or services or beers or automotive. You've got a little bit of everything that are blending into this. So, too, we didn't want to get sponsors that were necessarily fixated on just one sport, say PGA sponsors, because we feel that the forum addresses everybody across all professional sports ranges, the agencies, the product and service providers. So we thought it was very important that we give a blended view on sponsors that sponsor across the board in multiple categories. So as you can see here were the 25 groups that definitely participated in the corporate part of the survey. Now, as I mentioned, next slide, we also at the same time, under the auspices of Jada Brown here at our company, we also conduct an industry survey where we reach out to as many as 250 of the people that do what teams and sports properties do every day, and that's sell sponsorship, because we thought it was really important to get how you're thinking. How are you seeing it? How well do you know your sponsors and what your sponsors have to say? So we thought through that would be a very, very interesting contrast. So at the same time we're asking the corporate sponsors the questions, we're asking the same questions of the industry. How do you think your sponsors will come down on something like this? So we wanted to share with you, because we don't have a lot of time, but we wanted to share with you just one of the questions. And that is a very basic one. This is one that we have asked for all 24 years that we've been doing the corporate survey. And we asked the corporate sponsors and we asked the industry to tell us, just looking at the next 12 to 24 months, look in your crystal ball, are you planning on spending more money, less money, or the same amount of money in your sports sponsorships? In other words, how's your budget shaping up? And as you might imagine, over 24 years, with the economy, with things that are happening, there's a tremendous amount of ebb and flow. In fact, let's take you back to 2015. In 2015, when we did the survey before we did the 2018 one, so in 2015, just to give you some ramp up here, as you can see, we're asking the industry, the sports executives, the same question. How do you see the budgets coming down for the next 12 to 24 months? Do you see sponsors spending more money, less money, or the same amount of money? And as you can see, there can always be some very interesting conversation here. As you look in 2015, you have, 97% saying equal or more. And, of course, there's always the big pressure put on from above, from the owners and the presidents on down, to deliver more sponsorship revenue. So at the same time, let's ask the corporate sponsors, well, how are you feeling about it? And as you can see, they're not quite as robust. And again, this was 3 years ago, but you basically have 89% were planning on spending more or, equal to or more, with them shading more towards the equal side. So they weren't quite as optimistic as the guys out there trying to get the money were feeling. And that doesn't always stay that way. In fact, let's take a look, flash forward, up to 2018. Now here in 2018, when we asked the same question, as you can see, things have dropped down a little bit. The more 3 years ago was 75%, and now it's 54%. Pretty interesting from our side of the view. And from the sponsor's point of view, well, it's also mirrored. They went from 41% we're planning on spending more to about a third, down to 33% we're planning on spending more with the teams and sports properties out there that they sponsor. So we wanted to give you an overview as you take a look at this. Let's now take a look going back to 2010. 75% planned on spending as much or more, 92% in 2012, Now, this is from the corporate sponsors' point of view. 89% in 2015, down to 72% in 2018. As you can see, there's been a 20% drop from the apex of 2012 down to where we are now, which we thought was very, very interesting and very illuminating, and we wanted to share with you. I mean, this is the fact. They are planning on spending less with us. Now, why is that? This is where we get into the why. We just told you the what. I mean, it's still robust, guys. I mean, 72% as much or more. You still have 3/4 of the people planning on being there, coming to the line. But it's not quite as aggressive as it was even just back in 2012. So 3 key takeaways that we got from going through all of the surveys when we got them all back in that we wanted to share with you. And so let's go to number 1. Sponsors are definitely getting smarter. From what they told us, they're getting smarter with their dollars. And what you're hearing a lot more is they're really putting data analytics to good use. Instead of the shotgun approach, and Doug talked about it, instead of the program ads, in some cases the signage, it's starting to go away. They're trying to drive down, dig down deep to those things that are going to make the most impact on their business. So we wanted to share a couple quotes with you here. As you can see, we are being a lot more data-driven and analytical when it comes to where we're spending. And another one of our sponsors, our top 25, said, efficiency is the driver of our strategy. By now having that information, we need to make our marketing decisions across the board. We're more in the driver's seat when it comes to negotiations. So they're rack focusing the dollars that they are spending with us, and they're not shotgunning it as much as they used to, again, because the data that they're getting is so much sharper. So that's not going to go away. That's only going to get better for the sponsor's point of view, where they're going to become a lot more efficient with what they're spending. So that's definitely one trend that we're noticing that's impacting that number. The other one is, and this won't surprise you if you're out there, is willing to venture into other avenues of sponsorship entertainment. And boy, we look at it. Look at the quote that we see here. And although the picture is Budweiser, I do want to emphasize this quote was not from Budweiser. We just used that picture. But the quote was, looking at more sponsorship opportunities outside of sports with a focus on live events, music, and lifestyle events where food is celebrated. Much more affordable and provides us with a bigger bang for our buck. Now, one thing I want to mention about that is a lot of the progressive teams, and I think Jason's is one of them, HBSE is definitely one of them along that way, are really taking a very hard look at where the herd is migrating, if you would. If they're looking at, so we're starting to see the emergence of what we call non-traditional revenue, with traditional revenue being, let's say, game revenue, outside of the events. So you're now starting to see more and more of the properties getting into craft beer festivals or art festivals, or you're starting to see more music getting involved in what they're doing. They're using their facilities instead of 81 games a year. They're now using it all 12 months. You're seeing some really incredible things happening where, if we can't get you into the game, we just want to get you back. We want to get you used to coming here, getting in that mantra of coming to the facility, be it the stadium or the arena, because, again, the sponsors are looking at this as well. They're looking, let's talk about esports. That's a topic that will be coming up in the summit. We're looking to do a fireside chat just on esports because more and more of the organizations, Jason's again being one of them, are getting involved in esports. And how are we harnessing that? We're getting involved. Now what do we do with it? How do we get our fans engaged? There's some great upside opportunities that are going to be coming down the road as far as esports, not only with our fans, but we're hearing more and more from our sponsors. They're looking to figure out how can we engage with you on non-game events such as esports. So the sponsors being willing to look into other avenues, whereas before historically they might have just thrown their money into sports, they're now seeing wherever their herd is, that's where they want to be. So they're being willing to look outside the fence, if you would, into other sports. So that's going to be more competition for us. And the third trend that we saw, again, is the tremendous rechanneling of dollars into social and digital media. All right, as you saw, one of our nifty, our top 25 said, the percentage of our digital media buy will increase this year by 5 to 7%. Fully 35% of our media buy will be in digital, We heard that almost across the board with all 25 of our top 25 sponsors this year. They are looking at how do we figure out. So content is king. The challenge is on for us to keep delivering more and better content, ways that we can connect our fans with the property, with the players, with the events that are going on, making them feel like they're inside the ropes, if you would. Just like Jason said, delivering that premium experience. Not only do our fans demand that, but also our sponsors are demanding that. So we need to be certainly a lot more aggressive in how we're using our social and digital media. I mean, when you see, for example, I thought one thing that was really startling was when you take a look at LeBron James's social following, the people that follow him on Twitter, it completely engulfs what the NBA league has that is following the league on Twitter. I mean, the players are, the content that's coming from the players, the fans are really engaging. They definitely want to get in there, and the sponsors are certainly paying attention to this. So we wanted to close on a comment here on advertising budgets. I mean, we're not trying to paint a picture of doom and gloom, and trust me, at 72%, I don't think you're taking that away from our message. It's not as robust as it was. It's getting more fine-tuned. But as one sponsor said to us, in general, we're always looking to make more and spend less. But we've always found that sports sponsorship has been a good investment for us. Right now, we're holding steady. But if a new opportunity comes our way that makes sense, we're not afraid to spend money. And I think that's indicative of what you heard from a lot of the sponsors. Now, that's one of the 12 questions that we're going to be covering in the corporate survey in my breakout session at the upcoming summit. I just want to give you a taste on some of the other things that we'll be talking about. What are the greatest threats to traditional sports sponsorship? To what medium are sponsors directing their sports dollar? I think I gave you a hint about that one. Sports dollars in the upcoming year. What do sponsors want in their sponsorship packages? So we gave them a total of 18 different sponsorship components, from player involvement to television to tickets to signage, and we asked them to rank it so that we could figure out overall as an aggregate number, what do they want to see in their sponsorship packages, so you know to check your proposals before you put them in there. Are you indicative, are you reflective of what the sponsors want to have out there? Another one that we'll talk on is what do sponsors consider the most important elements when evaluating a good proposal? So when it's all said and done, where's that ROI? And then certainly our closing question, one of our favorite questions that we've always asked ever since we started it, if you could, what one piece of advice would you give to a sales rep before they ever knocked on your door? What do you wish they knew before they came calling on you? So they told us, and we're going to share it with you. So that's going to take you through a real quick taste on our particular session that we're going to be doing at the upcoming summit. So we wanted to just kind of wrap things up here, if we would. Questions-wise, I know we're running a little short on time here, so we definitely thank you for joining us. The summit will be coming up here in just 3 weeks, a little more than 3 weeks. So there's no time like the present. As you can see on the slide right here, it's Thursday, May the 3rd. We're going to be in Times Square at the Crown Plaza. We were there last year. Great property for us to put this on in. Single attendee badges are $16.95 or $6.95. At the Forum, they're a lot more expensive, but here it's $6.95. Triple plays. We have some organizations sending, 8, 9, 10 people. So if you're doing more than 3, let us know. We'll even have a discount for that for you. So if you'd like to get more information, please, by all means, go to sports-forum.com. And you'll see right there there's a rotator. You can just click right on the upcoming Spring Summit. You can see our agenda, how the day is going to break out. We're going to have a very busy day. We start with breakfast in the morning. We end with a closing reception, a happy hour. But we've got a lot of content and a lot of information to share, from 8 until we wrap things up at 7:30. If you'd like, please reach out to Haley Jurek to register. Get any other information at haley@sports-forum.com. And as I wrap up, I just wanted to give a special shout-out to our planning committee. This is a very dedicated group of individuals, as you can see right here on your screen. We've had 8 people that have really dedicated themselves to putting the agenda together. They've helped out, including Jason, who you got to hear from today. These are people that have really helped us to put our agenda together, help introduce us to key people, speakers, as well as recruiting for us. So I would be remiss if I didn't give a special thank you to all 8 of these people. Been very, very special to us in helping, and they'll be there on site, so please do come out and join us. And with that, I hate to say it, but our hour is over. We just want to thank you all so very much for joining us. A special shout out to Doug and to Jason. Guys, you did an awesome job, and I can't wait to see you. I see you on site, put you to work, as they say, out at the Spring Summit. We'll look forward to hopefully seeing you, all of you that joined us today. Thank you for joining us. We'll have our next webinar after the summit is over. We'll have it in June. We do this every other month, and for those of you that are wanting to get more information, by all means, sign up for Selling It. You can see Selling It on our website at sports-forum.com, and under publications you can see, if you like great ideas, then you ought to be at the summit to get these great ideas. But by all means, during the rest of the year, make sure you get a copy. It's free. All you have to do is sign up for it. And get the what we call Selling It. So with that said, I want to thank all of you for joining us, our very special guests today, Doug Smoyer and Jason Ganell, and we thank all of you for being a part of this. Look forward to seeing you out in New York again on Thursday, May the 3rd. With that said, take care, everybody. Have yourself a great August, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.